26th. I'm John Ostman, Chair. Today I'm joined by Debbie Oakes, our Vice Chair, Lynn Eichholt via Zoom, Mary Wright via Zoom, Francesca Galazzi, and Peter Polimas. Also joining us today is Amanda Converse, and I'm going to get this wrong, Amanda. This is your Economic Development Coordinator and
Public Information Officer.
Public Information Officer. Oh, I was going to get that wrong anyway, so thank you very much for that. First order of business, I wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Welcome back from the holidays and all of that, and into a new year and more things to do. And the first item on our agenda is public comment. I don't see anyone in the audience. Do we have anyone online with their hand up?
No hands raised online.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is communications. George, do we have anything in the mail?
Nothing received since the agenda went out.
Okay, great. I just have one note for all the members of the planning board in terms of communications. You all probably have received an email from the state concerning conflict of interest training. And for some of us, it's every other year you have to do the big training, which is about an hour long. Every year you have to do there's a certification. But anyway, I just want to make sure that all of us have received that email and that you take care of whatever training you have to do between now and the end of the month. So with that, we'll go to item number 3, which is a Chapter 91 Waterways application, 77 Keziahs Lane, Orleans, Kirk D. and Jennifer C. Shell. And George, if you would walk us through that, that'd be great.
Yeah, let me give you the basics on this. This is a Chapter 91 Waterways license application for which the Planning Board is a required, statutory required notification only. You are not required to comment, but you may submit comments if you wish. This is a new license for an historic boathouse that is on Pleasant Bay, down the end of Keziahs Lane on the point. It was previously deemed not to need a license because the boathouse was above mean high water. Waterways licenses are only required for structures or alterations within the tidal zone or over water. However, the tides in Pleasant Bay have increased over time. And now a small portion, you can see on the plan, a small portion of the structure is now over what is considered above mean high water. So DEP determined that the applicant should obtain a license, that it should be sought. It's a very small area, but still. And the Conservation Commission has reviewed this, and they have issued an order of conditions. The Planning Board can simply acknowledge this or send comments as you wish. I took a picture of the boathouse today because I try to visit every site that we talk about, and it's a quintessential little shack by the sea that people pull their boat up into. It's unfortunate that it was not previously licensed and requires a license now. It puts the applicant's structure in a little bit of limbo. That is not the Planning Board's concern per se. So you've been notified. I've signed off that you've been notified. The Chapter 91 license will proceed regardless.
Okay. Are we, if we had any comments, would they need to be included in some way, shape, or form?
If you'd like to make any comments, I will be glad to send them on to the DEP.
I don't have any comments myself. Does anyone from the board have any comments about this item, the Chapter 91 Waterways application?
I know it because I've been by it many times, and I think it is a quintessential little boathouse, so
Yeah.
It's quite wonderful.
Nice.
And it's slowly falling into the sea.
It is.
So if no one has any particular, thank you, Peter, for those comments. If no one has any comments for George to include, then we will consider the matter reviewed and we will proceed on. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Next item of business is the small business survey presentation from Amanda Converse. And so Amanda, we'll turn the meeting over to you and we'll follow along.
I'm sorry, just a quick question.
Oh, sure, sorry.
Attached to this packet is an audit.
When multiple departments and staff use the same copier, things tend to get
Okay.
blended.
Okay. Thank you.
That was not inadvertently in your packet.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me.
Just making sure. Interesting.
thought maybe it was a communication.
Nothing you can't know, so enjoy it.
Sorry.
Please, go ahead, Amanda. Meeting is yours. You're muted. There we go.
Muted because I didn't want you to hear me coughing away. So thank you for having me. George invited me to come and give the results of a small business survey that we executed in May and June of last year. And I've recently gave the presentation to, previously gave it to the Economic Development Committee and then the Select Board, but George very rightly so thought the Planning Board would also be interested in hearing it. And apologies to those members who have already had to sit through this, but maybe you'll pick up on something new and different. I'm just gonna share my screen. So as I mentioned, we undertook this survey at the beginning or in the middle of last year. And really the point was to understand the local businesses' conditions, needs, and priorities. And I am presenting to you today, but I also want to acknowledge that I had a lot of help from the Planning and Economic Development intern, Kaylee Cordera, over the summer. She helped me develop the email list for outreach to local businesses. So I have close to 400 names that I was able to reach out to. We also sent a postcard to local businesses as well that she helped design and coordinate. And she helped me with some field work as well that you will see later on. So the survey was a coordinated effort between the Economic Development Committee and the Town Manager's Office. It was informed by business input. And I did an audit of many surveys from across the country, small business focused surveys, and was able to gather best practices from those. Really, like I said, we wanted to understand local businesses' needs and challenges, to gather input that can inform our economic development priorities that, you know, will either reinforce what we've learned from previous plans and studies, or maybe give us new insights, and to track trends over time. So this is not going to be a one and done. We're planning on, as the Select Board has said, they would like to see this happen every other year, because it is a big lift. So every year might be a lot, but then every other year we'll be able to track trends and compare the current conditions. And we also want to give small business owners a voice in shaping the policies, programs, and investments that affects their success. And the survey snapshot, as I mentioned, the outreach began in May of 2025, and we sent emails to our business list, so 3 in total, included in our general newsletter. Shared, we had local nonprofit partners share it in June, shared it on social media in May and June, and sent a printed postcard to every address in Orleans, because, you know, we really wanted to make sure we were reaching home-based businesses as well, so we could get a good representative sample of the types of businesses that are here in Orleans. We got 101 responses that represent a broad and diverse cross-section of the town's business community. I think it's a pretty good response rate, given that it was a very long survey. So there were about 45 questions, and they were not very quick. It was, you know, some of it asked for a lot of information. So pretty proud of our Orleans businesses for being engaged. And we were able to capture brick and mortar, home-based, year-round, and seasonal in 19 different industries, including retail, construction, hospitality, professional services, the arts, and more. And you know, I think this will give us some really good insight. So just a quick snapshot: 85% of the respondents were year-round, 15% were seasonal, 50% had been in business for over 16 years, which is, that speaks to not only their longevity, but their resilience. We know it's been a rough decade or so for our businesses. So it's definitely goes to show you that we have a good crop of local businesses here, and 62% of 1 to 5 employees full-time year-round, which also shows you that we're dealing with the smallest of the small. So, in terms of revenue, digital presence, I'd say 38% make under $500,000 a year, which again, very small businesses here in Orleans that are driving our local economy. 88% have a website. 27% make less than or greater than 10% of, no, greater than 10% of their revenue online. That goes to show there's opportunity there for support. Go ahead. Did someone say they have a question?
Go ahead.
No, sorry. So the workforce overview, 76% of businesses have 5 or fewer full-time year-round staff. 40% have no part-time year-round staff, and only 34% hire part-time seasonal workers. So, and then one of their key challenges in dealing with their workforce is housing, hiring, retention. And one quote that we got from some of the qualitative parts of the survey were there's a shortage of people who work in jobs in the $20 to $30 per hour range in Orleans because housing is so unaffordable and out of reach for year-round workers. And that's their biggest challenge. I do want to also note that, again, this was taken in May and June. And, you know, some new housing opportunities have come online since then. But, and we also, as you all know, have unlocked some new tools that can definitely go to address these challenges. In terms of their attitude towards Orleans, 50% of businesses consider Orleans business friendly. And then what I thought was notable of the businesses that have a second location elsewhere, 86% say that Orleans is better or about the same as that other town. So I would say that shows we're dealing with a pretty good foundation of trust and collaboration with the businesses, but there's definitely room for improvement. 54% say their sense of belonging in the town of Orleans is strong or somewhat strong, while only 18% say it's somewhat weak or very weak. And then when asked how they would rate the Orleans economy, 55% said it's good or excellent, while 11% say it's poor or very poor. And then they rate Orleans as good or excellent. 53% rate Orleans as good or excellent for doing business.
I have a question, or did you want to wait till the end for questions?
Up to you.
Go ahead.
Do you know anything about like the typology of the businesses that rated Orleans to be more friendly versus the ones that felt it was less? Like the 18% that feel the economy is weak or that their sense of belonging is weak, are they all of a certain type of business, or do they differ from people who would think of it as strong?
That is a really good question, and one that I will suss out the data and let you know for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And going further into Orleans as a place to do business, 88% of businesses rate the overall quality of life in Orleans as excellent or good. That's a really good starting point there. The location of the town is rated as excellent or good by 85% of respondents. The elements that got mixed results are annual business licensing fees and commercial tax rates didn't score as clear pain points, with most respondents rating them as fair or better than other towns. Business support services are viewed as sufficient but not great. Most rated them as fair or good. And the lowest rated categories, so the highest concentration of poor and very poor responses were access to skilled and unskilled labor and availability of land or commercial space were most poorly rated.
Can I just comment on that, on the skilled labor? Amanda, rest your voice for a minute. This is just a comment. We have heard some people say, some residents say that we're building housing to attract people who will work in the town. And that there aren't, some people have said there are not sufficient jobs, and that we have to create a job base as well as a housing base. And it sounds like from this survey, in a couple places, it's noted that there's inability to retain and hire people in that $20 to $30 range. I know it's the low end of the range in the modern world, but, this just underscores that businesses are showing us that's what they really need. They need access to employees. The jobs are here. They may not be the greatest jobs I've ever seen. So, I don't know, I just felt it necessary to point that out, because that's just another good data point for me to see that the businesses that we're hearing from say they need employees. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that is what I would glean from it as well.
Can I ask just a quick question about the access to commercial space?
Yes.
George, this is sort of for you. Does that resonate, like we don't have good space?
It
Like
does.
I would have thought, just, anecdotally, I would have thought we have plenty of space.
Yeah, Lynn, if you drive down and you're not really thinking about it, you'd see some underperforming and some empty storefronts. But it's about the fit. It's about the size that is needed for the unit, its location, and how it works as a business unit. So it could be that our commercial spaces as they exist now don't really respond to the current market, the current needs of businesses.
Does that also include office space as well? Because I think there's let's call it a lack of office space. I think there's a new construction going on right on 6A
Right.
that is addressing some actual office space, per se, to address that need.
Right.
Yeah, I would say for a lot of the vacant spots, because I think there sometimes people say there's so many vacancies in Orleans, but those aren't necessarily the most desirable spaces either. They haven't been upgraded, and if I'm opening a new business, I don't want to go into a space where I'm going to have to invest a ton of money. So I think they're not necessarily, to George's point, we definitely need a variety of sizes, and but there's really nowhere for not nowhere. The spaces that are vacant are not necessarily desirable for a place to go.
Is this, I just, to finish those thoughts, is this landlords that don't particularly want to, grow their leased space and don't really want to do anything with it? Is that one of the issues?
I think it's safe to say there's been underinvestment in some of the properties here in Orleans.
You're being so kind, Amanda. That's so gracious. That's really gracious.
Okay, okay.
I just wanted to add, this is purely anecdotal, but I just went through an experience where rental property changing hands, meeting with people coming who are looking to rent space, and there's not enough good space, the right kind of space. They were not even unusual businesses looking for space. They
Yeah.
were the regular run-of-the-mill businesses that we
Yep.
definitely want on Main Street, and there aren't any. There aren't a lot of I don't know what the empty buildings, I mean, I can think of one, but there aren't very many completely empty buildings. And I was like, wow, I had never looked at it. It's like, what? There's not one single place you can go? And the answer is no, there was not one single place to go. So,
Yeah,
I don't know, I
and-
hope
and-
somebody's building them.
Yeah, Debbie, I know what you're speaking about, and
Yeah, you probably talk to the same people.
yes, and grateful somebody was able to land where they did.
Yeah.
Because we would have lost a good, niche business that draws people to town. So, it's something, and I also want to say, in addition to the survey, I did about 50 qualitative interviews with local businesses as well. And that's something we heard over and over again, is if I wanted to move, or if I wanted to open a second, an offshoot of my business, there's nowhere for me to go. So that, it was supported by the qualitative voices that I heard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amanda, I have two comments and then I have a question. One, certainly this is for us as a whole. I mean, part of those $20, call it $20 an hour jobs, those are first jobs for many people, right? And it's about how is it that we're sure we're creating space for first jobs, hopefully good first jobs for people to get the training that they need to then move on and advance. So, you know, if we look at it in the workforce development world of being able to get good jobs at the beginning of somebody's life cycle, that's great. Second thing, the anecdotal story I had, I met a woman who told me, please don't do any redevelopment of Post Office Square because it's the only place that had available space for her to rent because it's great office space. And I thought, wow, our bar is really low. So I thought that was a fascinating comment. But I had a question on the slide before. You said people were saying that we had about business support services. I guess I wondered what exactly business support services meant.
It means things like technical assistance and capital assistance, I think that type of thing.
In other words, from the community as a whole, or
Yes.
I don't think it's not considered, that's not municipally provided.
Not necessarily from the
Okay.
community as a whole.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, thank you.
Yep.
I have an,
Um,
I have an anecdotal question. Have people
No.
been into homegrown?
yeah.
I mean, I think that's an example of a building that was not great, but it's pretty nice. The lighting.
It's the absolute example of what, yeah.
I mean, I think it's really well done, and it's an example of what's possible.
It was very well done, and I have to say it reflects her brand very well. And I think finding that space is going to, I mean, it goes to show what a change in location can do for your business. She has had the busiest, holiday season she's ever had in the course of her business. So,
Yeah, and she said
Yeah.
her previous building had fluorescent lights in the ceiling, and the lighting there and the open ceiling, it's really nice, really well
Yeah.
done.
yeah,
So
I think it's a great example of what can be done
Great, good.
when there's reinvestment. Yeah. Okay, so in general, when we're talking not just about Orleans, 48% say the economy has worsened this past year, and so that was 2025, 2024. And 54% say they're optimistic about their business future. But 55% plan to maintain or expand their operations. So I took that as good news. No one's saying I'm going to go out of business. Not no one, but 55% people plan to maintain or expand. So
I
I
think,
took that as a little negative, Amanda, and this may be just personalities that go, the cup half full people versus the cup half empty. But I thought the fact that 45 didn't, were uncertain, was concerning.
yeah, but if you look at the close, sell, or scale back, they're really low in comparison.
I think Francesca's earlier question kind of applies across the board here. What's the typology of those buildings that think they're optimistic? What about those who are pessimistic? I mean, I think that was a great question, and I think it can apply to a lot of these surveys.
So
Yeah.
along those lines, Amanda, is the raw data that drove this survey presentation, does it have the business types available?
Yes, we can parse that out.
Okay,
Great.
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
I did have Kaylee do that for a couple of the questions, but of course not the ones that you are asking. So in terms of challenges and constraints, this reiterates again that the dark red is the serious challenge, and the lack of skilled workers and ability to retain and hire staff is a big thing. And then so this just sort of reiterates what we were just talking about. And then, we asked for them to provide, in their own words, what they see as challenges and constraints. And, there's some themes like the need to improve sidewalks and crosswalks, so there was a lot of that sort of infrastructure. And they also, like, you know, lack of quality space, attainable housing, basically just there's this, I think, sentiment that we just aren't realizing our full potential, and we need to strive for that. But switching gears to the strengths and successes. So people point to the location, the quality of life here, the lower real estate taxes, and people say it's the best town to live on in Cape Cod and best town to do business with. So the very supportive community. So these are all, you know, I think real good positives that will keep people here and invested in the community. And then we asked them to rank economic development priorities based on factors that were pointed out in the economic development plan, as well as priorities that the EDC had pointed out. And, you know, the number one priority, we asked them to rank their top 5. Their number one priority was reinforce Orleans as the commercial hub of the Lower Cape. The second was manage and protect natural assets to sustain tourism activity, retail spending, and blue economies, building residential density in the village center. You guys are on the right track there. Promote growth in the village center and Town Cove, and create safer pedestrian and bike connections that connect seaside assets. And those were the top 5. And then, you know, some of the others that, you know, enhanced broadband access was definitely something that was close in the 6th, because I've been in businesses where they lose connection to their credit card processor because they can't access the internet. So as I said, I asked Kaylee to do some observational field data, and this was to understand how residents and visitors interact with key public spaces in downtown Orleans. So, you know, we wanted to focus on people's movement patterns, accessibility, wayfinding, dwell time, congestion, conflicts, and the observation sites were Main Street and Route 6A intersection, Depot Square, Staples Center area, parking lots behind Main Street shops, Town Cove, and then East Orleans, and asked Kaylee to go there twice per site, weekday mornings and afternoons. And she collected pedestrian and bike counts, crossing behaviors, bus stop use, and public space engagement and traffic conflicts. The takeaways were there was pedestrian frustration was common at Main Street and 6A signals due to long wait times, bike path congestion at crosswalks and frequent traffic stops, parking congestion and unsafe crossings were noted near Trove and Joe Mama's and Staples Center. Morning peaks in East Orleans and Main Street parking lots were tied to commuting and cafe activity. Afternoon peaks were reflective of recreation and food-oriented traffic. There's limited pedestrian appeal, so, you know, noticing that people weren't really walking down the sidewalks beyond, you know, just along Main Street. They would stop and turn around, or look confused as to whether they could keep walking up 6A or down 6A. So, you know, improving signal timing, which again, we heard that from businesses in the area as well, that Main Street 6A signal is a really long signal. Sometimes people would give up and just turn around and not keep walking. Expanding the bike infrastructure, redesigning parking flow, enhancing crosswalk safety. It's definitely something that has been on the radar, I know, for many years, and as has improving wayfinding signage. Before I sum up, are there any questions about those? So the key themes and sentiments were, you know, many businesses are long established, locally owned, and open year round. There's a strong sense of community, customer loyalty, and downtown charm. And there's a general optimism about Orleans' potential as a commercial hub. difficulty hiring and retaining staff due to lack of affordable housing and childcare, infrastructure disruptions affecting operations and visibility, limited capacity to access grants, marketing tools, or technical assistance, and some concerns around inconsistent enforcement and communication from town departments. And then what businesses are asking for, and again, this is from the survey, but also from the qualitative interviews that I did with the businesses, are infrastructure upgrades. So increasing walkability, signage, and broadband, more technical support, business outreach, and permitting clarity. I do also want to acknowledge this, again, was in May. So since then I have launched a business newsletter. There's been a lot more outreach in that regard. And we are definitely working continually on permitting clarity within Town Hall. Expanded year-round housing and placemaking efforts to support off-season commerce, and consistent communication and follow-through on strategic initiatives. And then the overall sentiment is businesses are stable, but feel like Orleans isn't reaching its full potential. And there's a strong desire for collaboration and targeted action to support sustainable growth.
Amanda,
I'll leave that.
thank you very much. Questions from the board for Amanda? Any further questions?
I have a question if no one else has one.
Francesca, please.
I feel like I can kind of assume the answer to this question, and I think George kind of touched upon it, but I wanted to connect kind of some of the business, like the workforce overview and the idea of accessing skilled labor or kind of maintaining or expanding operations with the percentage of businesses that have, like 76% have 5 or fewer full-time year-round staff. So like you said, they're very much small businesses. And then 34% hire part-time seasonal workers. But then they're asking for, or they're talking about the issue of hiring skilled workers or having people here.
Yeah. I think that might be retention
Okay.
question as well. So they're not able to necessarily keep people in the positions because
Okay.
they're commuting from far away, or they might find something closer to home.
So they could have, like some businesses might be looking to have more than the amount of staff that they currently have is what the, okay.
As a comment there, what we see in not only Orleans, but in many Cape communities is because people have to drive certain distances just to work anywhere because of the cost of housing, especially in places like Orleans, we see a lot of, let's call it poaching going on between towns and other businesses in other towns of getting people in different places because there's a limited number of people available, limited affordable housing and all of that. And it's not just an Orleans problem, it's a problem everywhere. And this will remain a problem until not just Orleans, but other communities create the attainable, not just affordable, but the attainable housing that we've all been looking for. And so this is obviously a multi-year project to rebalance all of that. But there is, we see this in some municipal jobs as well, police and fire and others, a bit of horse trading around and poaching going on between towns because, we're an island and we have limited housing and limited people willing to work. And it's a tough situation that I think towns like Orleans and other towns are addressing now with efforts for attainable housing.
So Amanda, sort of a general question. After, looking at all of these survey results, the business owners talk about we need efforts to make Orleans a commercial hub, and to, efforts to fulfill its potential. What do you think are the most important actions we can take to do that?
I have been, there's a lot. So a lot of what I talk about, and George knows this, we talk about this a lot, is the walkability of downtown and I think putting an emphasis on that, I do think we have the plans and the studies that show where to put the crosswalks, where to encourage the walking, where to put, and we just, we are definitely have challenges with our roads are state road, the two roads are cutting through and we have to deal with the state on that regard. I also think that connecting, there's, we have different nodes of like little business districts and connecting them a little bit better, whether that's psychological through, signals. And I always talk about this. There are these unconscious signals that people absorb every time they drive down the street. And I do think that wayfinding, signage and other wayfinding implements will help connect that a little bit better. And I think enhancing Orleans in that regard is going to be huge for that. We are a hub because we have a lot of the regional headquarters for, the grocery stores and, all of the services that people need to continually come back to. I think we just then need to make it much more attractive for them to stay. And so there's definitely some infrastructure improvements we can be making on that regard.
So you think it's more that, and I know this is a chicken and egg issue, than it is the type and number of businesses we have and recruiting certain businesses. It's more important to get that. If I read what interpret your comments, it would be, let's get it walkable. That can attract more businesses. We've got to solve this problem of available space too.
Yeah, well, that I think, and that you're right, chicken and egg. This is why, these efforts have to move forward kind of at the same time, and we'll take the wins where we can get them. But I do think, the zoning change can do a lot for that as well in terms of bringing some vibrancy to downtown, which will then attract businesses. But right now, and I have to say, I have a lot of contacts with local businesses across Cape Cod, and there aren't many that I would try to recruit to Orleans right now because I can't put them anywhere. So, you're right. I think a lot of them are sort of biding their time. But with to the point about where Homegrown went, when that space was available, I reached out to multiple businesses asking if they were interested because we had this space that would be a desirable location for them to move into. And people were interested. People are really interested in Orleans. I think people are just waiting for, it to kind of pop a little bit.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Isn't the most critical aspect to walkability continuity of commercial space, so that you move along a space and there's not huge gaps, but somehow to have that continuity seems like the most critical. You think of towns that have that are successful, and there's usually an area that people walk, and then beyond that,
Yeah.
not so great.
For sure. And so I worked and owned a business in a downtown that was a very mile-long street with lots of, there were gaps in between. And there, again, those psychological signals, people would turn around. But there are things that you could do. And I think for me, a lot of times those gaps are parking lots, which is why, it's nice that the new zoning kind of, frontage makes people put, front the street. It's going to, that will change the way people interact with space. But there are other things that we can put planters down. We can put, there are these signals that we can wayfinding on the sidewalks that are like, hey, keep going. I think there are creative solutions that can be found that, you know, because we can't move a building up
Right.
just yet. We don't have that capability. So we need to think about other creative measures too, because you're right that when people see a hole, they think there's nothing else beyond there.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It depends upon the length of the gap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But hopefully the overlay district will be helpful.
Other comments from the board? If not, Amanda, thank you very much. Playing hurt, we understand that, but
Thank you.
thank you for your efforts, and thank you for presenting today, and good luck with your throat and all of that. Hope you feel
Thank
better.
you.
Great.
Thank you all for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Hi, Amanda.
Next item of business is a comprehensive plan update. George, lot of activity.
Lot of internal activity. The solicitation for art was completed entirely by Debbie Oakes. Kudos to Debbie for the amount of effort and for finding that there are indeed, more than a dozen artists who are willing to contribute images to make the comp plan better. So those images are with the consultant now, and they're being inserted, and we'll get another look at those. The full draft with all of the edits has gone to Ty and Bond for update. They're probably, certainly within 2 weeks. I hope to have a full draft for all of you on the 27th for you to look at and see it. And I say that because I want you to see it and be comfortable with it, not because we have any budget to make any more edits. Because we're fully out of budget, and we're with an agreement with Ty and Bond to complete the necessary tasks to get us to town meeting in the Cape Cod Commission certification. So I'll distribute that to the planning board as soon as I get it. Be glad to make you all hard copies. I have a feeling this is the version you will be using, carrying around for a long time, so we can make copies of that. So the select board presentation, which we were going to do in late January, has been deferred until we see a final draft. And I don't think we're in a huge hurry, except, and Mr. Matheson, if you just help me understand this, we want to present the plan at a planning board meeting, as you suggested, not ask the select board to take a position on it, but to understand it enough that they're willing to put it on the agenda for the town meeting. And I want to make sure we don't run out of time, that we can get your attention with all the other pieces that go into the town meeting warrant. So I'm thinking it's probably late February that we get on that, maybe our second meeting in February on a Tuesday afternoon. Does that sound good?
I think so, yes.
Thank you. So that's the plan. I think we've got a really good product here. I'm getting more and more excited about what it came down to. There was a huge amount of effort on the part of the planning board and staff time internally, and all the people who contributed to it and keep contributing to it. John, the last thing I want to address is you had mentioned the need for a public hearing. So I went through the Cape Cod Commission guidelines for the LCP light. There is no specific requirement for a hearing. It might be advisable to have a public presentation of the plan prior to the warrant being finalized, but we don't have to do that. We did do 3 different work sessions with the draft and accept comments and solicit comments, and we got abundant comments. We got more than 100 pages of comments and edits to make in this plan. So I think we've done our job. For those who want to participate in the process, have had ample opportunity to do so. But let's just revisit that after we get a copy of a final draft and see if we want to hold one more presentation.
Thank you.
I think that's it on that.
Okay. Any other questions about the comp plan? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. Wait for the draft on the next meeting. Next item is approval of planning board minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. One is our planning board regular meeting of December 9th, and we'll treat these individually. So I need a motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2025. Motion? Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. If no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye? I think we have to do roll call, don't we?
have to do roll
Yes,
call.
I think so.
Mary, right?
I, Mary Wright.
Lynn Eichholt?
Yes?
I think we have enough, so you don't even need to vote. Debbie?
Aye.
John Osman, aye. Okay, so that's December 9th. Next set of minutes is from our comprehensive plan presentation meeting and input session. That was December 10th, 2025. And I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. If no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Mary?
I, Mary Wright.
Lynn?
Aye.
Debbie?
Aye.
John Osman, aye. You're approved. Thank you very much for that. Last item on the agenda is future agenda items. George?
Just a couple of things. We have to do our annual review of the fee schedule. I know you don't have a lot of subdivision activity, but we do look at the fees, make sure they're comparable. Hope to have that comp plan draft for you at your next meeting, and then we'll set the presentation for the select board. And I think at some point, this board should have a discussion of a strategy for addressing other zoning issues. We do have a lot of commercial-based zoning issues. We have some quirks in our bylaw, the use table could use some attention. With everyone I've spoken to, in light of the heavy lift by the townspeople in November to understand a lot of zoning and accept it, there was certainly an agreement not to do anything this May. So maybe we should just not put ourselves under the gun later, but try to get ahead on some of the issues. You know, there are some quirks in our sign bylaw that could stand to be addressed, although we don't always want to open that up because nobody likes signs. And the outdoor lighting bylaw, adopted about more than 15 years ago, has served the town well, but it is antiquated compared to modern practices. So there are a host of issues that the board probably needs to develop a kind of a strategy of priorities to address over time. So maybe we could have that conversation when time is available.
I think, George, and I appreciate that, and it's something that we've talked about, getting into that a bit. I would say that we do not want to do too much of anything else until we get the comp plan draft well understood and approved to the point where we're successfully on the spring town meeting warrant, and then I think we can address some of the other issues after the fact at that point. So to me, we're so close now that we want to focus on getting the comp plan move forward. And then there are those issues, quite a bit in zoning that still needs some work, and we want to address that maybe later on, March, April timeframe.
Right.
Anything else?
We're good.
Good. I don't have anything else on the agenda. Unless anyone else has anything they want to talk about, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mary jumped.
And I'll take a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And we'll take a vote here. Mary?
I, Mary Wright.
Lynn?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
John Osman, aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.